Revelation chapter 12, verse 11, it says, they overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony, and they love not their lives unto death. Well, my wife and I are going to Rhema Bible Training Center, and it got close to Thanksgiving. Now, we had ate everything in our house. We had no food left in our house. Every bit of food we had. As a matter of fact, we've been living on spaghetti for so long that after I got out of Bible school, I could not stand to look at spaghetti for about 3 years. I mean, I could not stand looking at it. We ate so much spaghetti, it was coming on my ears. Not only that, but we ate pancakes and peanut butter almost every day. But we got to the place to where we had no money, and we were catching a ride during this time from a neighbor who lived right there in the same apartment complex who was going to Rhema. And so we had no money. I think we had $5 left in our pocket. We had no food in our house, and we had no way to get food. We had no way to get gas. And so we had $5 left, and it was the day that the Thanksgiving break would begin to happen. And so we caught a ride, and we went to Bible school. Now, we got into Bible school, and they sent the offering around. And I looked at my wife, and I said, baby doll, listen. I said, this $5, or maybe it was $10, one of the two, $5 or $10. I said, this ain't going to help us. This is not going to get us no food worth anything. Let's just go ahead and do this. Let's plant this as a seed. Let's just give it and believe God that he's going to take care of us. And so we both held hands together. This is before they received the offering. And we put in the $5, the $10, whatever amount it was. And so we gave it. Well, we, after school that day, we caught a ride with that couple, and we came back to our apartment, and I'm supposed to head off now to work. I just had enough gas in my truck maybe to get me to the school district. I work for the Broken Arrow area school district as a janitor at night, and so I'm in the house. I'm getting ready. We have no food. I have no money, and I'm getting ready to go off to work, and all of a sudden there's a knock on my door. Well, I opened up the door, and I had a neighbor who was a pothead. Matter of fact, he smoked so much pot to where it looked like the Shekinah glory was coming out of his house at times. He's knocking at my door, and he says to me with a slurred, because he's always doped up, and I've shared Jesus with him. And he says to me, he said, hey, Mike, he said, my wife and I are going to her family for Thanksgiving, and we've got some food in our house that we don't want to leave there while we're gone. Could you guys use some food? And I said, well, sure, praise the Lord. That's wonderful, because I'm thinking about food that was in the refrigerator, probably milk that was already curdled, probably some, mold-infested cheese. Who knew what they were going to give me? I just said, yeah, when you're hungry, you can't be picky. And so I closed the door, and after about 10, 15 minutes, they're knocking back on my door. I open it up, and here, box after box, bag after bag of food, canned food, all kinds of food, box food. I mean, they must have emptied their house of every bit of food. And I think I said to him, are you sure you want to give us this food? He said, oh, yeah. He said, we don't want it sitting around while we're gone. And so I took all of this food, and I took it into our apartment, and my wife helped me, and we put it in the cupboards. And I'm telling you, by the time we got done packing our cupboards and packing our refrigerator, we had no more room left. Well, I know a young lady who had a child born out of wedlock, but she was a needy woman. And so I said to my wife, I said, honey, this precious lady who's in the same apartment complex, she's really going through a hard time. Let's give her some food, and let's give her what God has blessed us with. And so she agreed. And so we packed up some of the boxes, and we took it to her house. We knocked on her door. She opened the door, and we said, we brought you some food. And she literally began to weep. She began to cry because she had no food. Well, God bless that. So I went back to the apartment now, and I'm getting ready to go. My wife's making me a bag lunch, and now there's another knock on my door. So I opened up the door, and there is a brother. He reaches out his hands, a fellow brother who was going to Bible school with me, and he reaches out his hand, and he shakes my hand. And as he shakes my hand, it turns out there is a big wad of money in his hand. So he gives me a big wad of money in my hand. Now, when I say a big wad of money, probably 40, 50 bucks. That was a lot of money to me at the time. So he blesses us with a handshake. And so I thank him. I pray for him. I'm going to head out the door. And my wife says to me now, she said, honey, she said, you know, look how God blessed us. Will you pray and believe with me for a 10-pound butterball turkey? Now, I remember exactly what she said. She said, will you pray and believe God with me for a 10-pound butterball turkey? Well, I'm sorry to say I got mad at her. I got angry at her. Pride rose up in my heart, and I took the credit for the answered prayer, what we just experienced. And I said, I'm already believing God. Look what I believed God for. Now, isn't that proudful and arrogant? But that's what I did. I said, look what I believe God for. I said, I'm already believing God to pay the bills here. And I gave her the fifth. Well, she could have been weeping and crying and mad at me, but you know what she did? She said, fine, I'll pray myself. And so I backed away from her, and she lifted her hands up towards heaven, and she said, Lord, I thank you for a 10-pound butterball turkey. Well, I laughed at her. I'm sorry to say, I laughed at her. I said, yeah, right, 10-pound butterball turkey, something like that. And I was the turkey. So anyways, I got my bag lunch, and I got in my truck, and I went off to work. Well, I went into the school, and I'm doing my janitorial business. I'm mopping the floors, buffing, cleaning the bathrooms. And about 8 o'clock at night, when I got my break, I went out to my truck. It was a cold night, November, Thanksgiving time, and I went out to my truck to get my bag lunch that I had left in the truck. Well, when I came to the truck, I noticed there was a package sitting on the hood of my truck. Now, I said to myself, what in the world is sitting on the hood of my truck? And so I took the package down, and there was lights over the parking area. I took the package off of my truck. I pulled the plastic away, and here was a 10-pound butterball turkey. God had heard my wife's prayer. I'm telling you, man, I was eating pie that night. I was eating humble pie. And I'm telling you what, I took that 10-pound butterball turkey home to my wife, and she just laughed at me, and she just kept praising God, and we ate turkey that Thanksgiving. And we not only ate turkey, but we had a turkey sitting at the table, and I was the turkey.